This will be a follow-up to a previous video because I know this is going to come up, so let's get it over with. QRS11, the airplane remote took away control from onboard pilots. Digital computer software to increase fuel efficiency by 1.5% in some cases, versus analog fly-by-wire to get rid of cabling and hydraulics that are vulnerable to wear and tear and reduce it. Analog equipment that doesn't have the ability to be controlled digitally, people use that word like it's magic, or remotely. Remote control doesn't require digital, but, well, we'll get to that. Boeing 757s and 767s use hydraulic systems to drive all the control surfaces. And some of them can be electronically or electrically, those are two different words, or digitally controlled. Yes. The only one that's actually listed as being a fly-by-wire from the get-go is the spoiler operation. It's done by an electric signal instead of traditional control cabling. It's the only one on record. It's the only one I could find. What is it? It makes it less efficient for flight. It reduces lift. It's the only control aboard the thing you could possibly screw with, possibly. It's the air brake. It's for landing and takeoff. Mostly landings, I'm assuming. It's called the spoiler. It's actually specifically to reduce lift, and it's for a specific thing. But anyway, sales department at Boeing, however, says you have complete control using the flight management computer system, and it can be used to operate the plane, in quotes. They don't actually... Why are you listening to sales literature done by people with no technical knowledge? Hey, remember that computer in the 80s or 90s or whenever you got your first computer that said, this will make your life easier in some unspecified way? See also Facebook screw-ups. Salespeople don't know what they're talking about. They don't have to. They just have to make sales. That's their damn job description. Yes, you can hack a Boeing system. You can. You can hack it on the later models. In fact, a lot of people said, why didn't they implement fly-by-wire for the pilots? Because the pilots tested it and didn't want it because it didn't work very well. Well, what about all those remote control planes during crash test dummy activities where they fly-by-wired the plane or used a follower? Okay, and you can see one video of a completely successful test crash. Okay, aside from that being funny, and also not so funny, that was the 37th attempt. The others screwed up. The other attempts were done with a pilot managing the plane, getting paid hazard pay, hoping that he could make sure the thing worked. It took him that many tries to get it to kind of work. The only one that I found, and the only one anybody else could find at any of the boards talking just about airplanes, not about September 11th, said that the only time they got it to really work correctly, where it could take off and then land, and land specifically on a bunch of metal pieces to rip the wings open so they could do an experiment to see if it would survive a crash, was in 2007. That's a little bit late. Well, we've had this technology forever. Yes, and it sometimes worked. Wouldn't it be more reliable just to train some dumbasses that are suicidal to fly a plane into a building? Oh, but that doesn't fit with what you're attempting to twist into reality when it says, no, I don't like you that way. Reality doesn't like your memes that way, truthers. So anyway, here we go. Spoilers are the top surfaces of a wing, which can be extended upward into the airflow and spoil it. It's intended to reduce lift in an aircraft so it'll drop. You could technically futz with those and get the plane to tilt or turn, but that's a very gross form of navigational ability. Also, it should be pointed out that a bunch of things happened that day that indicate a human pilot, because a robot-controlled pilot would have had faster reaction times in one way and slower in the other. You see, AI in 2001 couldn't anticipate something, so it wouldn't be remotely controllable. It would have to be you hack the onboard computer or you have remote control or both. Which is it? Now remember, if you're going to make an argument, you can't have it include every other argument just so you don't have to lose an argument. You have to stick with one argument in the comment section below or I will delete your comments. Well, yeah, buts aren't allowed. Show the following. The 767 and 757 have to have had built-in equipment that could be hijacking material, that could be used to hijack the plane and take control away from pilots. No. But you have to show that equipment could exist. Yes, there's a bunch of things you can type out as thought-terminating cliches, but you have to show that it could be told to do this. Next, you have to show that the plane was re-rigged to do that, but nobody noticed on the ground or they were part of it. You have to show that it's even physically possible by showing a previous example of a plane going through this or being set up that way that worked well enough to fly a plane at least this well. Next, please acknowledge that the flight behavior of the planes was pretty bad, which matches up with badly trained almost pilots. Fails, flight guidance system. Synthetic vision system is the new name for it. That's what people bring up, along with a couple of other names. And they all say the same thing. Oh, it's easy to do. Trivial to do. Okay, prove it. Show an example of it. Lots of people own these airplanes, even though they're many million-dollar airplanes. They can be tested. Show an example. A real one, not a truther video channel. No truthers. You have to show a video page, a page done by somebody who has nothing to do with the subject matter, who has no dog in the fight. Period. Full stop. No exceptions. Anything, I don't care what it is, any year, even later, just something. Can't? I'm sure somebody will. There is also a citation needed for the following. Peter Gray, who is a electronics OPS VP, whatever that is. Ken Whaled, control electronics. David Kovalany, mechanical engineer electronics. Herbert Holmes, executive seconded to DOD. Stanley Hall, Director of Project Management, Electronics Warfare, and Charles Falkenberg, GPS expert working on the Global Hawk project from Raytheon, who are executives that regularly are on airplanes and doing business trips. The meme is they were told not to tell their families anything. If you work for Raytheon, the first thing they tell you is you're not allowed to discuss anything because we'll fire you. Second, you may go to federal prison because we work on government projects, so shut your damn mouth. Loose lips sink ships. It's been around since the Second World War or before. You're not allowed to talk about armaments. You're not allowed to talk about anything. Everybody has to act all top secret. If you don't, you can be fired. They don't normally do it, but they might. Next. How many of the Raytheon executives that were involved in any of these projects didn't die? Statistics are useless unless you show the positive and the negative results. You have to show proof that you did due diligence. Me saying all the cops on this list are guilty of shooting people when they were unarmed doesn't include all the people who were shot while armed. You can't do that. It's disreputable and horse crap. It's called fake information or fake data. Well, here's a bunch of kids who died from this, and this after getting inoculation. Okay, how many people didn't? You can't show this information and say, it's 100%. Of course it's 100%, because you're refusing to include the other percentage points that disprove your point. You're lying by omission. And again, I need actual, I'm going to look them up, but I need an actual proof that these people were aboard those airplanes. And somehow this was to cover up something, which is the assertion. That's what they're hinting around at, conspiracy theorists. But anyway, yes, Raytheon executives and ordinary people fly airplanes a lot. That's nice. Next. Also, Raytheon in 2001 flies and lands a Federal Express 727 passenger jet 6 times on a military base in New Mexico, entirely by remote control and without a pilot on board. And again, how many times did they have failures and crashes? Well, it worked 6 times out of what? Because it crashed. It was shit to fly this. The amount of delay time that happens between you controlling something remotely and back is actually pretty significant sometimes. Also, you have to rely on the signal not getting degraded. How is it controlled? Were they right near the plane? Okay, so you have to make a remote control system on September 11th that worked over a very large distance from where it took off from to New York. Oh no, the planes were intercepted in flight. Okay, now you have to create another universe of stuff. The whole point of this conspiracy theory crap is to create an ever-changing, ever-widening, bizarro story that exhausts your ability to analyze or critique or fact-check anything, so you just give up and say, I believe it or I don't. I don't get exhausted. I will fact-check these. Again, just like I did before when I had to do this. If anybody's curious, to go through all of the crap that was posted as of 2005, it takes 6 months to fact-check every stupid bullshit story conspiracy theorist comes up with. The only one that stuck out was Building 7. And then I found out the actual data about it and found out that I was lied to by the one video, that smoking gun video that shows the building caving in. The person who posted the video changed the frame rate a bit so it looked like it came down at free fall speed, along with all the dirt and dust flying off the side. Dust falling at free fall speed. Physical objects fell through the dust at free fall speed because that's the definition of it, but the building didn't. You didn't notice that in the video? I didn't either. How many videos have any of you watched that have been phonied up that way? Entirely by remote control, so said Raytheon sales department. September 25th, 2001. Several 911 passengers have possible connections to pilotless aircraft program. That was the only citation I found. Possible connection to... oh yeah, it was the Raytheon something something. The flight control systems for those airplanes were not fly-by-wire except for the air brakes, which would do nothing at 500 miles an hour except alert somebody that it was being futzed with, and they would turn off whatever telecom equipment. Oh, by the way, did you know if you claim that the pilots can unplug the transponder and blah blah, pilots can unplug all that stuff. They can do totally manual control. They will not get on an airplane in some cases without that. How about the UA-175 execute a turn? That's an airplane. It executed a turn at the last possible moment to correct for a crosswind. There wasn't any GPS updates in 2001 that can handle these sorts of things in that resolution at 10-meter accuracy or lower. These were stock jets. The navigation you had in 9/11 would most likely miss by a quarter mile or 1,000 feet because it was only required to be accurate to 1,000 feet because you take it above everything that you can hit and just get it in the ballpark so you don't run into each other. That's what the pilot systems were for. So they wouldn't hit each other, and so the plane would fly more efficiently for fuel. That was its primary purpose. Now add to that the need to somehow hack into the system, remote control it, with a system that isn't able to do this stuff correctly, and had plenty of crash accidents if you tried to do it. A pilot can refuse to fly any jet that is modified in any way which is not in the manual that they look up, because they have to be able to do that in order to safeguard themselves. It's in their self-interest to do that. If they see a new box of electronics without any notice, they can refuse to fly it until they get told about it, because you would expect to see that if someone planted a bomb aboard an airplane, you dumbcoffs. Next. In the World Trade Center, somebody said this, blah, 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 blah. We should build them all like the World Trade Center to make demolition easier. The point of a building is to make demolition harder, not easier. But thank you for your comment. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And no, they weren't remote-controlled planes unless you provide proof of it, not just speculation and lack of citation. Good day.